On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel is changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
What did you steal?
Secrets.
Disclosure Day is Steven Spielberg's best film in 20 years.
Are they people?
No.
Are they human?
Oh my God.
Spielberg does this better than anybody in history.
I can see them. They're coming.
Disclosure Day. Rated PG-13. Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13. In theaters Friday. Get tickets now.
In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Greg Kelly Show.
I'm not so sure Fury is in the offing here when it comes to Iran. We're going to start shooting. We're going to start bombing. But I don't think it's going to be, 5-6 days, really super duper intense. It may not be at all. They really have emphasized they want a proportion. They shot down one of our helicopters. All right, 2 guys, 2 pilots, both alive, and that's great. Not hurt. It's a pretty wild thing getting shot down in the helicopter. It looks like it happened over water. You know what happens when you go down in a helicopter and you crash in water? Usually people drown. All right. It's a very, 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 we've seen it around here in New York, right? It's terrible. Remember those sightseers? When was that? 2018, 19, they wanted to go out and take pictures and they call it boot photography. So you put your shoe out the door of the helicopter and then you take a picture, right? So look at me. I'm stepping on the, Statue of Liberty. I'm stepping on the World Trade Center. I'm stepping on the Empire State Building. That's like the kind of art, kind of photog. It was a trend for a while. Maybe it still is. So they strap themselves in. The helicopter malfunctions. Actually, a knapsack that one of the passengers brought in. At first, I didn't believe it. There was a tourist helicopter full of tourists and a pilot, and the tourist, his little backpack knapsack thing, a little loop of it went around the fuel shutoff handle. And when he went to pick up the backpack, it shut off the fuel. It shut off the damn fuel. And the helicopter started to go down. And the pilot thought he would be better off in the water because the thing has great big flotation and not going to Central Park. Personally, I would have gone to Central Park. But he went to the water, and it has big flotation devices and it's supposed to keep everybody afloat. But one of the devices didn't work. And what happens is a helicopter will capsize immediately. It's not going to sit there and float like Sully Sullenberger. It is going to stop, and it is going to turn upside down because it's top heavy. The motor is on the top, and those big rotors are on the top. That's a lot of weight, and it's going to flip one way or the other, and it flipped one way with all those people in it. And they were strapped in so tight, and the seatbelt was like extra. It wasn't like a buckle thing, on the airline. It was like a harness, and they couldn't get out. And they drowned. It was just awful when I think about that. I've undergone this kind of training, by the way. I've flown in 1 million helicopters in my life in the military. And it's not as much fun as in the civilian world, because in the civilian world, what do you got there? You got windows. Everybody wants to sit by a window. Well, they don't have as many windows in the military helicopters, so you're just sitting in this very loud, gray room. You can't talk. You can't do anything. It's too loud. and you look at the guy across from you, and there are wires everywhere. It's just usually I would just take a nap. To be honest, just take a nap. But they train us. If this helicopter goes down, what are you going to do? If it goes down in water, what are you going to do? Because it's going to flip. It will flip. So they give us specialized training. In a pool, they actually have a helicopter fuselage, the body of a helicopter, and they put it over a pool, a swimming pool, and it's attached to a crane. And we all go in there and sit in our little seats, right, in the middle of this tube. It's basically a tube, the helicopter body. And it hits the water. And then it starts to go upside down. And they tell you to do something very, very counterintuitive. You don't want to do this. They tell you to stay strapped in your seat until the helicopter is totally capsized. You got to wait until it flips upside down before you start to escape. Which I still actually don't understand. I just try to get out. The natural thing is to get out of there right away. But you're supposed to wait until it totally flips over. Get your bearings, get your orientation. That's important. All right, so I'm upside down now, and now I take off my seatbelt and start to get out of there. It's a tricky thing to do. It's even tricky to do in the pool, especially. I think about that. It's tumbling over to one side, and the water's coming up. And then you got to take your last breath before you go underwater. It's very scary. And then they have us do it in the dark. They have us do it in pitch black. How do they do it? They give us blackout blindfolds, little goggles that have been painted black. And you got to wear those damn things. And it's scary and freaky and weird. Hey, but so is flying around in combat. Scary and freaky and weird. Not something you do every day. So they shot this helicopter down. It tumbled over. The guys got out, thank God. And then a remote-controlled drone boat picked them up. This is the coolest thing about this. A speedboat with no speedboat driver. You know, in the beginning of Miami Vice, and they got that cigarette boat, and what's his name? Don Johnson and Michael Thomas, was that his name? Crocker and Tubbs. They're driving the cigarette boat. They have no driver on these new remote-controlled boats, drone boats. And they got rescued by a drone boat. Very, very cool. So every announcement so far has been, we're going to respond proportionally. We will respond appropriately and proportionally. So I don't know. Are we going to go all out? Are we going to go nuts? I don't think so. I don't think so. And President Trump keeps emphasizing, hey, look at that guy, Plattner. Look at that silly mustache he's got. He looks like that Keebler guy. What is he, an engineer on the railroad in 1901? He looks silly. And he's wearing oh gosh, we need another one of these guys. Another senator who wears sweatshirts to work. Graham Plattner. Graham Plattner is his name. And he won the primary in Maine. You know, he's a Nazi. The guy's a Nazi. He is an outright Nazi. It says it right on his chest. Nazi. I am a Nazi. And they still find a way to take care of this guy. They like him enough. Why do they like him? Because he's going to vote Democrat, because he's woke, because they think white men are going to like this guy because he's got, what, a cheesy goatee? Because he talks man talk about military stuff? He doesn't. That's fake. Don't ever vote for anybody because they were in the military, all right? That's nice you're in the military. It's like going to a nice school. Oh, congratulations. Actually, it's better than going to a nice school. It suggests that at one point in your life you made a sacrifice. But you also got paid, and you also got a resume item, and you also got bragging rights, and too many veterans out there are bragging like crazy. And this guy about what he did in the military, and now I know war, and war is always bad. Nah, it ain't always bad. And sometimes you got to fight it hard. All right? Plattner. This is the John Kerry playbook. All right? John Kerry invented this stuff. He invented it. Come back from war and then oppose the war and watch your political and modeling career take off. Is on with Mika Brzezinski, who's like now the go-to person if you want a kind of a softball, yet we're going to clear the air so nobody has to ask you this question again type of interview. He did it with she did it with Joe Biden. Now she's doing it with him. And they get it all out of the way. And then there's this illusion that, okay, he answered all the questions. To be honest, I don't care about the texting stuff. I mean, who hasn't sent a text or two that they might regret? Nobody. Just me and Graham Plattner, hey? Okay, if you want to be that way, fine. I'm sure we're the only ones who ever sent a text message that may have been designed to, I don't know, generate excitement in either the recipient or the sender, right? No, I guess very few people do that. Very few people have ever done that. It's so gross. Probably is, but, you know, I didn't invent the damn cell phone. I remember the first time I got a text message. It was in 2004. I didn't know what it was. I did not know. My brother sent me a message like, what the hell is this? It felt like a ghost got in my phone. All right, do we have Graham Plattner on with Mika Brzezinski, the Clear the Air interview? Now, right after this, President Trump, he's watching this interview. I don't know if you did, but he watched it, and he had some really interesting thoughts about it. First, let's go with the new Democrat nominee for Senate from Maine, Graham Plattner with Mika.
Can you just talk about the nature of the sexting in terms of, can you call for the release of the Epstein files? And can you call out those who have abused?
That's just me.
Wait.
Okay, so then let me ask.
What happened? It's all jittery, right? Is it getting all jittery? Can you take it from the top? Maybe it's the cut. Maybe it's the microphone.
Can you just talk about the nature of the sexting in terms of, can you call for the release of the Epstein files? And can you call out those who have abused?
That's just me.
What the hell happened? Oh, wow.
Okay, so then let me ask you this way. Can you just talk about the nature of the sexting in terms of, can you call for the release of the Epstein files? And can you call out those who have abused women and not be conflicted in any way?
Yes, of course. I mean, I engaged in consensual romantic activities with adults at an earlier part in my life. That seems like a fairly normal thing most people do. Going to an island with billionaires to possibly assault children is a vastly, vastly different thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, well, on that one small area, I will cut him some. He's right. He's not wrong. All right. He's not wrong. But a lot of people are not wrong. All right. Guy on the subway this morning wasn't wrong. He can't be in the U.S. Senate. He stunk, by the way. He literally smelled. You can't be in the U.S. Senate when you think Nazis are great. You know, it's very interesting. You know, like Eric Swalwell. He shouldn't have been in the Congress after he fooled around with Fang Fang and knowing that she was a communist spy from China. There's certain things you can't do anymore. You can't be anymore. Certainly not the governor of California. But then they try to take him out. And what did they try to take him out over? 5 years ago, he made a date with a person to meet at a hotel. Not a hotel room. I don't know if it was a restaurant, a bar, or whatever. But it's the racist stuff. That's why he shouldn't be there. And this is what President Trump said. All right, President Trump is quite. He can see through people right away. Here's President Trump on Graham Plattner.
They're Democrats. They have the worst policy of anybody. I watched that thug that's up in Maine. He's a thug. And they're trying to make excuses for him. I mean, he's worse than any human being that's ever run for office, probably. I don't know him. I don't want to say bad, but I just, look, I mean, nobody's ever had a record like that. And you'll have Schumer. He goes crazy over this or that, or Epstein. This guy. Why are they talking about him? He said, well, we don't know, but this guy's got a rap sheet. I've never seen anything like it. He's a thug. I know thugs. I had to deal with thugs. I built a lot of buildings. I dealt with the toughest people on earth. I dealt with worse than thugs. This guy's a thug. He's a low-level thug. And he's running to be a senator, to work with Eric Schmidt. Great, Eric will handle him, I think. To be with Barrasso, who the hell do we have to be with Rand? Now, Rand would be very interesting with him. Rand would figure it out, and he'll put him away. But this is a thug. He's a cheap, no-good person. And I watch these senators, the Democrats, and Well, we don't really know. You do know. He's as bad. I've never seen a person like that run for office. And the guy from Texas, different, but he's terrible too. He's terrible. He's a radical left communist.
Well, the guy from Texas, too, right? He's a radical. He looks forward to the day, he says, when he doesn't have to say Democrats. All right, Democrats. Right now, they're very, very dumb. It is interesting. It puts the sexting stuff, I think, behind him. Sexting, texting, whatever you want to call it. That stuff is great. And look, he's a. I don't like the way he talks about war, to be honest. This is the part that really bothers me. Another veteran using it as an excuse for bad behavior. Cut one, Graham Plattner on that New York Times show. Cut one.
I was also diagnosed with PTSD. And for me, I can remember exactly what happened and that caused the sort of cascade. What was it for you?
For you?
It was 2006. And it wasn't a specific moment. I'll just be, I think that's not actually true. Oh, man.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Wow. Chick Stiggett. Chick Stiggett in Maine. I think it's done for the chicks. Oh my gosh, you see what a hard time he has in adjusting. I don't know what the hell he saw over there. I happen to know that there were Marines over in Afghanistan and Iraq whose job was to hand out basketballs at the gym. All right? I don't know what the hell he did over there. I actually don't even care. It doesn't matter. But he's going to run that right into the Senate? Susan Collins, you really have to step up and do whatever the hell it is you do up there, and you have a habit of winning even when you're 10 points behind. Why do you talk like this anyway? We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Greg Kelly Show.
Let's give it one more round of applause for your Artemis 3 prime crew.
Man, like the movie, the astronauts on stage. They're going to blast off sometime next year. The catch is they ain't going to the moon. No, this is not that mission. It's a little bit different. They're going to go into orbit around the Earth. They're only going to be 100, 200 miles up, 300 at the tops. And they're going to spin around up there, and they're going to try out all the moon equipment. We've done this before in the earlier Apollo missions, right? Apollo 9 did not go to the moon. It actually just orbited Earth as they tried out the lunar lander, and they didn't land it on anything. Let's see. We also had Apollo 9. Apollo 7 did the same thing. And then it's on to the moon. So one more mission of practice, testing, and then we go to the moon. And I think when we go to the moon, we're going to leave somebody there for a while. We're actually going to build them a little bit of a house. It's not going to be that impressive. It's basically going to be the space equivalent of an igloo, right? It's going to be tiny, but it'll be big enough and enough air and food to last the guy or girl enough days until the next spaceship comes by. And I am told actually there's going to be a rotating system, so you could actually get off the moon whenever you want. Yeah, that is pretty exciting, actually. What they're doing, what they're working on, it takes time, but congratulations to the astronauts. One of them is actually 58 years old, which is about 20 years older than the last guys who walked on the moon when they walked on the moon. Most of them were in their late 30s. One guy, Alan Shepard, I think, was 47. He was like the oldest moonwalker, and he had to get a waiver. And there was some controversy about sending that guy into space. He was, though, the first man to walk on the moon. No, he was the first man in outer space, first American man in outer space. So he was a big-time celebrity. And they were going to send him to the moon. The word is he didn't take it all that seriously. He took being Alan Shepard very seriously. You know, I'm Alan Shepard. That's $500 for my autograph kind of guy. And he went to the moon. He was the one who played golf up there. The word that he didn't take the science very seriously, but a great pilot. A great pilot. Good for him. All right, we just heard that thug talk. Do we listen to President Trump? Yeah, President Trump already gave his reaction. Anything else to say about that? We're going to have to beat the guy. You're just going to have to beat him. Here in New York, a lot of people are trying to, it's an open seat, right? Nadler is stepping down. That big wobbly penguin-looking guy is leaving. He's been there since 1992. Terrible, terrible guy. I can't believe he actually got to the Congress. I've met him a couple of times. He's very unlikable. There's nothing interesting about him, nothing charming about him, nothing. It's just, I find him gross, personality-wise. And I don't care what you look like, but he doesn't look so great. So there's a big race going on. All these Democrats, some of them quite rich. Jack Schlossberg, who is John F. Kennedy's grandson. You look at him, I don't know. He does have that great, big, thick presidential head of hair. He's tall and skinny, and he's rich. But the thing about him is he's not been doing much his entire adult life. He's like lays around, makes bizarre, and I do mean bizarre YouTube videos. And he's a bizarre guy. He like goes off and takes naps during the day. His staff can't find him. They're just a very peculiar individual. He's one of these guys who goes surfing in December, you know, one of those dudes, which is a little bit much, don't you think? All right, this is what he sounds like at last night's congressional debate on that New York one. Go ahead.
And what I saw disappointed me and inspired me. What I was disappointed by was how little the Democratic Party was actually doing to reach out to people.
Sounds like he's 14.
What inspired me was just how many young people were out there ready to lend their hand, to get involved. And all they needed was somebody speaking their own language, on their terms, on the platforms where they get their information
Needs
from.
testosterone.
The only thing that we need to be worried about, and the central question in this election, is who is going to be able to galvanize the support of young people, the people our party has lost over the last 2 decades, and build a more effective fighting force to take on Donald Trump and MAGA. We need our own political movement.
You know, sometimes people don't talk about age. I'm young, therefore vote for me. The young people will like me. How do you explain Bernie Sanders? Guy's 85 years old, was a favorite of the young people. All right, now he gets. He just sounds terrible to me. Doesn't sound convincing. Doesn't sound authoritative. He sounds like a wuss. Let's face it. Now here he is getting his Irish up because he's part Irish, right? Micah Lasher is another guy who wants to be the congressman. It's a crummy job, by the way, being congressman. Every 2 years you got to run for re-election. It's back and forth, back and forth. You don't get much money. Some of them have to live in their own office. They live at work. Although then again, you do get that insider trading advantage. Hardly anybody walks away from the gig. All right, so here he is when he gets angry. You ready with that one? Go ahead.
I will just say, and as someone who grew up enormously admiring the legacy of service in your family, Jack, I say this somewhat sheepishly and mournfully. But when we talk about the reasons that each of us are on this stage, I'm on this stage because of nearly 2 decades in public service, working at all 3 levels of government. That's why the voters of my assembly district sent me to represent them in Albany, and that's why I'm campaigning to represent the voters of the 12th Congressional District in Congress. That's why I'm on this stage.
I'm sorry, but I'm on this stage in my own right as my own man. I am Jack Schlossberg. I run a campaign all across this city with more plans than anybody else on this stage. I have made my way here myself, and your public record is great. Run on it. But do not ever invoke my family name to try to denigrate who I am and the person that I am.
Well, that's a reasonable retort. I think it's a little bit much. Don't ever invoke my family name. But he made it, to denigrate who I am, to denigrate, interesting. And just because Micah Lasher has been in the, this is my district, by the way. I can vote for one of these guys. Who's the Republican who's running? Okay, Micah Lasher has been an assemblyman for a long time. Congratulations. What else has he done? Wait a second. He's been in the assembly since 2025. So what? In 2001, when he was 19, he managed Brad Hoylman Siegel campaign for city council. He also was an aide to Congressman Gerald Nadler. Allegedly, he worked for Michael Bloomberg and then later became chief of staff to noted woman abuser Eric Schneiderman. Remember that guy when he beat that woman at the red light, slapped her in the face? He did. In 2016, Lasher ran for the New York Senate, where Adriano Espaillat retired to successfully run for the U.S. House. He lost. All right, you're just an aide. You've always wanted to be somebody. Now you think you can be somebody. In November 2021, Hochul appointed Lasher as director of policy during his tenure. And you know what? You don't have to be experienced. You don't have to have all these stupid jobs. And they're stupid jobs. They're small jobs. Congratulations, you became a assemblyman. I could have done that on my way to work this morning, but I don't want to. I got other things to do, bigger things to do, more fun. Guy pretends. He's a pretender. I don't know. I'm starting to like the cut of Jack Schlossberg's jib. I'm not taking any sides here, though. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. What do we think of Carmelo Anthony being convicted and sent to jail for 35 years? I don't have, look, the jury heard the evidence and fine with me. I don't have strong opinions about that case because, look, I don't like to be jerked around by the media or anybody, and I didn't see much of the evidence at all. I hate that a 17-year-old didn't seem like it was right. He said move. He said make me, and he pushed him, and then the guy gets a knife in the heart. That sounds like murder to me, but I'm not going to pretend I saw all the information, and was there a video and all that stuff? I don't know. The jury saw that stuff. I accept their verdict. Sounds like a just verdict to me. And I did notice that this Carmelo Anthony guy was acting like some sort of celebrity. And I think that went to his head, right? They treated him like a civil rights icon. And instead of spending the last, 9 months or so in jail, he was home on house arrest on bail. So he never really got a taste of what jail was like. And he did get a taste of what celebrity is like, what attention is like. He started to enjoy it a little bit. But that was all temporary. And this is permanent. Now, I am going to also mourn Austin Metcalf because he's gone forever, 17 years old. It's interesting, though. There were I counted. I found out there were nearly 17,000 murders last year. Why do we focus on this one? Why do we focus on, say, Alex Murdaugh? Why do certain murders like Karen Reed, boyfriend, right? Why do certain murders and killings get all kinds of attention and other killings get none? It's a weird equation that I haven't quite figured out. I think sometimes it's weather related. It's definitely physical appearance related. Karen Reed arguably was attractive. Alex Murdaugh, totally weird, right? And rich, that's sometimes. And of course, race. When the media can pit races against each other, that's always alluring for the fake news. But I noticed something, that they only put security, extra security around courthouses when there is a, shall we say, racially charged trial. Now, this case, as far as I know, really had nothing to do with race. Nobody uttered anything about race, but it became all about race. So as they were waiting for the verdict, the troops came out. The cops with bats and hats, like Derek Chauvin. George Floyd, that was racially charged. They brought in the National Guard just in case they found him innocent. There would have been a riot. There would have been a riot. So now why is that? Because fake news, dominant media, our culture, academia, and Democrat politicians have spent years trying to convince America that it's a fundamentally racist place and that white people are the prime movers behind white supremacy, promoting it, living it, enjoying it. Total fraud. But this is what that sounds like. All right? This is white supremacy being jammed down our throats. even when it's fake. Cut 4.
White people are very superior at their privilege and utilizing it.
All white people benefit from white privilege. White privilege filters in, well, it stems from white supremacy.
White women have taken an active role in the maintenance of white supremacy.
You know, it's just the hypocrisy and the white supremacy in America and in the world that would show us portraits of a pasty white Jesus.
To be white in so many ways is to be raised to be functionally illiterate on the topic of race.
White people don't understand a damn thing. And when that's reinforced and people just sit there and it takes over corporate America, it takes over our culture, it leaves a mark. And right now that mark is a dead Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony spending the next 35 years in jail. Be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
About the race of the man on the loose. Why would you give that information? Because it was helpful to catch the man on the loose, right? Man on the loose is 5'5", white male with a Snoopy tank top, a red hat, and pantaloons, yellow pantaloons, right? Could be that guy. Or it could be a 6'2" black man wearing a similar Snoopy tank top and also dressed in pantaloons, but these pantaloons are purple. It's part of the description. Now you're not supposed to do that anymore, right? No. The race is off limits. But it's interesting that when you are looking for the bad guy, the race is very much part of the equation. In fact, I don't know if they still do this. It's worth another call, but I'm not going to call 911 unless I have an emergency. But this was in the middle of woke. The last time I called 911, there was a guy who looked like he was dying on the street. Homeless, but I forgot what he was doing. He was quivering. There was something messed up about him. And I called 911 and I explained the situation. And basically the first thing they wanted to know was the race of the guy. So when the cops respond, they can tell. I mean, you start big to small. You don't go, he's wearing brown wingtip loafers. No, he's a black guy. He's wearing a tan sweatshirt and a gray sweatpants, and he's got a, you go big to small, whether it's white, black, Asian, red, brown. Remember Jesse Jackson, black and brown? What is brown, by the way? What is brown? Is that a code for Hispanic? Is it South Asian? I don't know. Black and brown. Jesse. Oh, Jesse. So anyway, they wanted to know the race right away because it's the real world, all right? People are really responding. Now they will not say the race of the suspect or the man in custody unless that man is white. And it really is something to hear. It's something to behold. I remember Michael Moore complaining that local news media were too harsh with black people. Well, what the hell does this sound like, huh? Let's see here. Where is this, Jeremy? Try cut 3, please, if you don't mind. Cut 3.
Okay. He is a 21-year-old white man. This 21-year-old white male mass murderer. The suspect in custody is white.
Police say a 28-year-old white male carrying 2 handguns crashed a stolen truck into a building.
It's humanizing the shooter once again.
Yeah.
And can I point out that the shooter is a white man who is alive after they knew that he'd killed 8 people.
That was Gayle King at the end. Yeah, they apprehended a mass shooter. But according to Gayle, this white man, right, they let him off the hook because he was white. Is that what she's saying? And she seems a little bit frustrated that the cops didn't show up blasting, right? You come out blasting. Where did I hear that? Godfather. Come out blasting. I don't want them to come out with blasting. You come out blasting. It's just incredible, isn't it? So this demonization of one race and then the lies told about President Trump for, solid now 10 years. There are people who still think he was talking about neo-Nazis and white supremacists when he said fine people on both sides. He said the opposite. He said the absolute opposite. He explicitly said that white supremacists and neo-Nazis need to be condemned totally. But listen to these very prominent voices, and they may not say it anymore because they could get their asses sued, but they said it enough to make a horrible, dark, and almost permanent mark on America. And 17-year-old black boys are left with the consequences, actually. It felt very good for Laurence Olivier. What the hell's that guy's name? Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC. He's the second voice you're about to hear. First it's Don Lemon, and then it's Lawrence O'Donnell. Listen to this. Cut 3. Again, cut 3.
Okay? He is a 21-year-old white man. This 21-year-old white male mass murderer.
Stop.
The suspect in...
You see how he said that with such venom? This white male. This is the ultimate in virtue signaling, and it's a little bit white privilege. Speak for yourself. Like, he is so secure in his power, in his prestige, in his status, he can point at his white skin and like, oh, yes, I'm above this. I know. Yes, no, I speak from experience. No, we should all settle down. This is about others, not me. It's about others. That is just a power play. And it works. It used to work. It used to work. Should I do the other one? Right? Okay. Anyway, they were repping on President Trump said, find people on both sides. You repeat that over and over again for 10 years, people start believing it. And the consequences, I'll say again, too often, the powerless, the vulnerable, the weak, the dumb, the Carmelo Anthonys, and the amazing and beautiful and smart Austin Metcalf. May he rest in peace.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.